So you've been using our awesome new copy feature to put documents into their respective jobs, equipment, crews, etc. instead of just putting everything into organization documents, because in the past, before we could copy documents, you'd have to upload them one at a time. So we've made that a lot easier. That's great. But now you've found when you go to export your documents and you want to choose a specific document, but you want it from all those different jobs, now you have to go in and select the document inside each job folder over and over and over. Well, good for you for being quick to adopt our new feature. And guess what? If I go into this job, and let's say I want to export this COVID guidelines document for all crew members, instead of checking here and then going up to another job, go into that job, check here, go up to another job, let's go here and just select all copies. And if you're watching closely, I've already selected 2. So when I click select all copies, it's going to say this will select an additional 309 base documents for a total of 311 base documents. Cool. Let's select those and click select one more time, and it's going to give us this huge list of all those 311 places that document shows up. You'll notice they're all job documents except this last one, which is in the organization documents folder. So 311 base documents, but there are no documents to export under the given parameters. On today's date, no one submitted any of these documents. Let's go back to the month of September. There we go, September 1st to September 30th, 87 documents. So 87, I thought there were 311. Well, there's 311 places that document exists. It's been submitted 87 times in some combination of those 311 places. So most of these jobs haven't had that document submitted in the month of September. Now, if I click export, it's going to export 87 PDFs organized into folders according to the context in which these documents exist in CrewTracks. In this case, it'd be a bunch of job folders plus the organization documents folder. But as you know, I don't have to view 87 separate PDFs. I can export this information into a CSV spreadsheet. But again, we have a bunch of different contexts represented here, so it's going to give you one CSV per context for these documents. In this case, one for each job plus one in the organizations folder. And we've made this feature pretty flexible. You can select a bunch of different documents that have nothing to do with each other, and it'll just give you a CSV for each one. Or you can combine the output of the selected documents into one CSV file. In this example that I'm showing you, that makes a lot of sense because this is the exact same document uploaded to a bunch of different jobs. But you could select a bunch of totally separate documents and combine them all into one CSV file. It's just going to create a column for each field name in those different documents. And that could potentially make for kind of an ugly CSV export, but you're not going to break anything running an export. So just give it a shot. If it looks weird in the export, maybe narrow down your search a little bit more and try to just export documents that are similar to each other or identical. But again, we made this really flexible so you can use it however works best for you. Okay, let's see what happens if I choose the CSV and I uncheck this. Let's export that. And it's given me a zipped folder full of folders. If we open up the job folder, it has a folder for each job. Open up one of those and we can open up the CSV to see all the submissions of that document for that job. This could have one row or many rows depending on how many times it was submitted for that job. I'm going to go back here and open up the organization folder because I happen to know it was submitted a bunch of times in the organization context. Let me extend these out and there we go. So if you look at column B here, the context all the way down is organization because I did not choose to combine my export into one CSV file. So each file in this case only has one context. Okay, let's go back to CrewTracks. And this time, let's say combine the output into one CSV file. I'll export, and instead of a zipped folder, I'm going to get one single file. There it is. Open that up. Let me expand these columns. And most of these submissions were in the organization context, but if I scroll down here, you'll see we also have some job contexts here in this one file. So scroll back up to the top. Let's look at some of these column names. You can see I've got printed name row 1 through 9. I happen to know this document has way more rows than 9, but for the month of September, for all the submissions of this document, no one filled out more than 9 names. And because rows 10, 11, 12, and so on were never filled out, it doesn't show up in the export. So that's about it. The only things I didn't show you here were the export of a PDF, which will just give you one PDF per submission. Pretty simple. It's kind of the old way of doing things, right? Someone fills out a form, you get that form. But we've added the ability to summarize all of the submissions of those forms into a single spreadsheet. I also didn't show you this option right here, but it's not new. You can choose to only export documents submitted by a certain person with this dropdown. And finally, we've got this checkbox, and that will let you include submitted documents from unfinished schedules. That means if it hasn't been submitted and approved, it might have a document submission already, and you you can include those ones by checking that box. And finally, I'll just mention in case you missed it, our reports and exports items here on this menu used to expand and give you all these options right here in the left menu, but we keep adding functionality and we're trying to keep this left menu simple. So instead of expanding the menu over here, just click on reports or exports and then look in the list in the main screen here to find the report or export you were looking for. That's it for now, but we will be back real soon with more updates, so keep an eye on your inbox and please get in touch with any feedback or questions.